I got the echo effect. Let's see, testing 1 2 1 2 1 2. Oh, I got the echo. 1 2. Oh, I got it. Right here.
I can't hear anything, Steve, and I don't have a picture.
Hey Ella, how you doing?
Hey, Tiny, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, just great. No complaints.
Oh, good. That's nice to hear.
Yeah,
Keep it that way.
yeah,
Don't deviate.
yeah. Trying.
Okay, okay. So what's happening with Steve and them in the sound?
I don't know. I'm just like you. It just went away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Maybe he'll get it together.
he will.
Yeah.
What about now?
Okay. Now I can hear you and see you.
It's 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, it sounds like it's okay.
But you still got that backup sound.
Okay.
Oh,
Hold
that
on.
little echo.
Yeah, a little echo.
Wait a minute. There you go. How about that? 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, that's better.
I think I gotta just turn this one down a little because it's backing up.
Echo is still there.
I'm gonna turn it down a little. No, no. Let me see. Oh, that's track one. It might be a little loud. That's strange. Trump is on the show. This is off.
Okay, what about now? 1, 2, 1, 2.
It still has that echo, like we're in a
Right.
tunnel.
Okay. What about now? 1, 2, 1, 2.
That's a little better.
Okay, wait. I know what. Let's do this. Right here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, that's good.
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
Let me turn it. 1, 2, 1, 2. There you go. Sounds like we got a plan. It's just a little, it sounds a little echoey. Or like it's in let me see. One more thing I could do. Is it clear or do you hear feedback? Oh, I can't hear you guys now.
Okay. Now.
Oh no, I hear you.
Okay.
All right, let me turn this one down a little bit. Right here. Now, how about now? It's a little feedback.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, a little feedback.
It ain't never used to be like that. Now what about it? 1, 2, 1, 2.
Still feedback is more.
How about now?
Yeah, still feed.
I know. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2.
A lot of feedback.
Yeah. I wonder if because I don't have this. Hold on, let me try. Let me turn this one on. One, two, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Try this. The only thing I got different is nobody who get with me. I don't want to get too much. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is strange. Very, very strange. No different than we always do. Let me try one more thing. Think of one more. Turn this one down. Can y'all hear me now?
Yep.
A lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of feedback.
Which one of these speakers is it? One, two. Coming from the Zoom.
How about now?
Still a lot of feedback.
What about now? 1, 2, 1, 2.
A lot of feedback.
Yeah. I don't know what.
With Reese's and Cadbury. Ever feel like a spectator?
Turn this board off. 1, 2, 1, 2. Still. How about now? That's it.
Yeah, that's better.
Injection site pain.
That's the one. Right there.
This one, this one,
There's that feedback.
okay.
That's it right there. Got it. Got it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, y'all. I'm sorry. Sounds a lot better. I hope so.
Yeah, it's better.
Because it's
There we go. Speaker was never on, but it's appropriate. I'm hoping that everybody else is getting it. Anyway, we always do every Sunday between the hours of 6 and 8 o'clock. Like the welcome Northwest Austin Council. And today we're gonna be talking about whatever y'all want to talk about. Number one, what do people really want? What do you frank and real about? What do people really want?
The volume is real low. I can't hear that well.
How about that? Is that better?
A little bit, but not a lot.
Right there. How about that? A lot better?
That's
Yeah,
better.
that's a lot better.
I could turn that up right here. But the question was, what do people really want? This is the opportunity for all that got questions, answers, information, and facts. So we can dive in and dissect it, come up with an answer, and get some corrective action. So,
Well, I want the checks and balances to take effect with our so-called president and put him in his place and have him stop making such rash, stupid decisions that not only hurt black people, but it's hurting the white people too. Because there's more of them getting Social Security and Medicaid than us.
all right.
Yeah, I agree. He really hurting them. But I tell you, I be thinking about this Elon Musk and with Louis Giuliani and the My Pillow guy, and how he used those guys and just destroyed them, and then he just moving right along. And I see he really getting Musk now. They talking about kicking him off the board of Tesla. Teslas ain't selling. He just destroying people, and he destroying the United States. So,
but is he destroying Elon Musk, or is Elon Musk destroying himself?
he's destroying. He's just doing what Trump tell him to do. He couldn't do all of that without Trump behind him, and like I say, Giuliani did the same thing, and the My Pillows guy, he did the same thing. They stood up for Trump and did all that crazy stuff, and Trump just walked away from them.
But let's be real. It wasn't Trump that started Twitter so that Trump could get back on. It was Elon's deal to buy Twitter so he can let Trump back on the airwaves.
Yeah, right. I'm
Trump
just
don't
saying,
have that kind of money.
I'm just saying that Trump is a user, and he
Oh,
just use people to do what he want them to do. And the rich people want smaller government, however it's done. And Musk is just doing what he thinks gonna make him a hero.
no, I
Have
think Russ,
have Master been appointed for any position?
No, nothing.
so this Doge position is what? What is that?
It's supposed to be advisory.
Okay. But he's got a lot of power behind him.
All that Trump give him.
Yeah, Trump give him the power. I mean, because he hasn't been appointed for anything, not that I know.
Right.
So he can just come on in and move around, huh?
Yeah. Long as he doing what Trump want him to do, and the heat ain't hitting Trump, he getting all of the heat from it.
Well, I think there's some benefits to what he's doing. He wouldn't do this without knowing that he's getting something greater than what he already had out of it. It's like saying
he getting the money. He getting the benefits from it. From cutting all of this. Yeah, he getting kickback.
That's what I'm trying to say, that there's got to be something greater. If you already have a sirloin steak on the table and I offer you some jelly beans for that steak, and I say, put the steak away, you're going to say, yeah, give me them jelly beans. That just doesn't make sense.
Ego.
I don't think ego would still allow you to make a foolish mistake of giving up a sirloin steak over jelly beans, unless you just got a particular taste for a specific jelly beans. I like the orange ones. Yeah, give me the orange. I mean, I guess you have a fetish for that.
Yeah, but Trump is power hungry, and he's setting all the other people who are for him out there to take the fall from messing up and doing what they do. So
And you think a multi-billionaire is gonna sacrifice all his billions?
not all, but most of it just for power and ego.
Yep, that's what
Yeah,
it
but
is.
power and ego means nothing if you don't have the money to back it.
But
Yeah.
he got so much money, it ain't gonna never be where he don't have none.
Yeah, but
I,
he's losing money.
yeah, but I heard somebody say that Moss gets $6 million a day.
Woo!
You know, see. So I mean, he spend all that money, and the people behind him can't spend all that money.
So that's $6
Plus,
million a day with his losses?
well,
Yeah,
he's getting contracts from the government, from the
Right, right.
federal. He getting all
Yeah,
these contracts from the federal, and
yep.
that's just putting more money in his pocket when he lose some. He think that losing a little money that he losing is worth it to have the governmental contracts with
Yep,
Tesla and with filling his pockets.
Right.
yep, yep.
And I'm tired of seeing that little boy behind him. Every time he turn around, he gonna make that little boy as corrupt as he is.
mhm.
Maybe the
Woo!
little bit smarter than he is. I understand that Elon Musk really isn't that brilliant. Just a really good opportunist that was at the right place at the right time, I guess.
That's right. Money talk. Good job stuff walk.
Uh, right,
Well, he was the owner of PayPal before he got into the electric car business.
right.
So how did he do that?
I mean, he's smart. There ain't no sin in being smart. He just being used.
I think
And
so.
and he might have business sense, but he don't have any other sense.
Mm-hmm.
But don't any of them have any sense.
Nope.
But you know what? I believe in the future. They're gonna turn on each other.
Yeah,
That's when the shit gonna hit the fan.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yep. That money, what it said, the love of money is the roots of all evil.
Mm-hmm. And I say there is a God, and
There is a God.
Trump
And
just doing what God let him do, or God made
Yep.
him do. And it ain't, I mean, it don't hurt black people by him destroying the FBI. FBI ain't never did nothing but for the black people, but kill Malcolm, kill King, put drugs on us. I'm glad
Right.
you
yeah.
destroyed that.
Yep.
And I don't want to step on nobody's toes, but I don't like to see men kissing men on TV.
Oh man, stop.
That
That is kind of weird.
right.
Stop it. Stop it.
Oh,
Well, there are consequences for behaviors,
yeah,
whether they powerful or not. There's consequences that's gonna come out of this, and it ain't gonna be too pretty.
right,
But that's what I'm saying. We just hold on.
right,
Just hold on.
right. See, cause I don't think they ever did anything for black people. Anything that black people got, we had to work harder and be smarter than the white people. So when they cutting all these jobs and stuff, they hurting a few black people, but mostly they're hurting white people
I
because the
heard
white
them too.
people they was helping, huh? Yeah, you know.
Well, this is the problem. We live in the United States of America.
Mm,
So I mean, the minute you try to separate and segregate, that means somebody's not going to get something. Because
well,
right
But
now,
we used to nothing. No, I'm not gonna say it like that. We are used to making do with what we got anyway.
yeah,
We can survive.
right,
See, it's gonna hit those people that don't know how to survive.
right. See,
yeah, but we live in a economic based system where we all somewhat are intertwined. It's like when I go to go to Target, I don't say, wait a minute, is there a black cashier or a white cashier? I look for the cashier, and I just get the product. So all I'm saying is it's really hard to separate people like it used to be, unless you do it the way it was.
Well, black people have always been consumers.
right,
We've
Well,
always been consumers. And if we can't buy any of that stuff or don't have the money, it's gonna hurt them. It's
right,
really gonna hurt them
right.
Yeah,
because they think we have no value.
yeah.
We just a bunch of nothings.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
We
I got
commit all the crime. We
I got
killing up each other.
I disagree about just being consumers, because we were consumers when we was in slavery. Couldn't consume anything. We were the producers. We produced everything.
But we don't get credit for producing anything.
Or money.
Right. So we don't get any benefit from producing.
No.
Well,
Everything that was created that's helping the Americans was created mostly by black men, and they stole it from us. They stole
Yeah,
our glory
yeah, yeah.
and made it appear as if though we're not doing nothing or contributing to the society. You don't hear much about it. In that little Black History Month we have, that's a token.
And you know what get me? Like, I see these mediocre white guys. They have trucks with motorcycles in the back, be pulling boats. They have real nice neighborhoods, and they just be mediocre.
yeah, but that's because of people that have whatever they have take care of their own. That's just the reality. I mean, I used to have a saying that if you were a white guy that dropped out of high school, and just got a GED, you're probably gonna make more money than a guy that got a bachelor's degree that's black. And
Yeah.
that was the fact that they, almost every white guy got somebody out there they can go to, like an uncle that worked for Street and Sands, and say, "Hey, can you give me a job throwing garbage for $80,000 a year?" Yeah, you ain't worth much, but come on, you're my sister's son, and they get hired, and then they end up being supervisors, making
Right.
$100,000. But it is what it is. That's just the nature of the beast. If we think it's not, it's been proven. We've seen it time and time again. You just said it. The people that have the most are typically, if you look at statistics and facts, probably white people. They have more money, they have more stuff, they have more power, and they have, it is what it is. But that doesn't mean that, they're going to let a few people get a little bit of something, just the way it is. They're going to let a little bit of people get a little bit of something.
Well, when we get black people who are in a position to have some power, they turn on us.
Yeah.
We don't stick together. They turn right on us and do what the white man wants.
Try to move over in the white people neighborhood.
Right.
And
marry a white woman.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Well, now, we ain't saying you're going to get the power by doing all of that now.
No. And
a little bit different.
But maybe and see, like, we need to see ourselves for who we are and what we got. We don't need to be thinking we something equal to the white man. We not. And I think integration is one of the worst things that happened to us. Let us be together. I think that's when we would be more productive.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Maybe this happened for a reason, for us to come back together. Because we've gotten so far apart, because I'm afraid that you're gonna make more than me or have more than me, so I'm gonna turn on you. So that's how it is today. Whereas, like I said, this might have happened for a reason, for us to come together, to work together, and just be together.
Yeah, I think it's good.
You about to say? Hold on a second. I got a caller on the phone. Go ahead. You got a caller? You got something to say?
can't hear him.
Hold on.
Mussolini was hung by his own people. Joseph Stalin had a stroke. His people left him there all night to die. Trump and Musk, every day, we go into those small increments. But one thing that you all said that was so prevalent is that the Lord got the final say.
Yeah.
And one thing about righteousness, you could knock it in the face, it gets right back and look at you. It's not going anywhere. The truth will prevail.
Right.
But does that mean we sit back and wait on it to come like that?
No. We see it happening every day with these rallies, what Bernie Sanders is doing, what the girl from New York is doing. No, people aren't sitting back. If you look at history, no matter what situations we've been out, there's warriors out there, and they're not going to give up. And what's going to change this is the people. It's starting to happen right now. So this whole thing is a con with the justice system, the Supreme Court. Trump didn't get there where he had by himself. And as far as him, Trump owes Musk money. Trump owes Putin money. Okay? They are telling Trump what to do. When you get to where your international partners for years, you just turn in the norm. Just look at the whole picture. You saying Canada should be a state of the United States. You saying Greenland. You saying that. Look at the man. He's deteriorating right in front of you. So just hold on. No, people are not going to stay put. No, this thing is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, but the last time when things got big like this, look what happened. The Earth was in a world war. It's not going to be no world war, in my opinion. And the reason that people know everybody, a lot of countries got nuclear weapons. If they make that mistake, nobody would be here. They're not crazy.
Well, Trump is dropping bombs on these Houthis, and the Houthis are attacking those warships. And Trump
is wrong what he's doing in Israel. Trump is wrong what he's doing in Ukraine. All of them. But I just say,
I got a question. Wait a minute. Let's talk about the Houthis. Who are they?
There's so many factions over there. And let's get this straight.
And Yemen, I think that's how you pronounce it. And
Yemen.
Yeah. It's never had any peace. If you look at a map and you see how small Israel is with all that control, with all these countries, it's never going to be any peace over there. Never. But what I'm just saying here, there are so many things happening right now in the world. We just stay focused and keep doing, because people aren't standing back. The Democratic Party is getting fire under them. They got to do this. And the Republicans they can continue to do what they want to do. But unless the people are brain dead, even before midterm, if you stay with Trump, you're going to lose anyway. I just can't see the people going back. What's happening to everybody when the midterms come, and even before that. But like I said, hold on. Things gonna get better. But one thing.
What do you think this is, sir? New World Order?
Well, let me say this. I think that Trump stole this election. I don't think he won legitimately.
Sir, there has been some talk about that. It never got a lot of press, but there has been some talk about that.
Okay.
All right? It wouldn't put me in, but let's be fair with what we're saying here. Trump is not where he's at just by himself. The Supreme Court has given him everything. It's a big con. And when we say democracy, how many people really care about democracy, especially the white ones?
This is a big time game from the beginning.
I want to say this. The black people are some of the most loyal Americans that you will ever have, and I'm black. Okay? But what I'm just saying, and like you all said previously, we've been through a lot. And you know what? We're resilient people. And I don't say this with no prejudice. We've been stomped on. We've been done this, that. So you know what? And I'm not making an excuse. This is nothing new to us. We've had to struggle, and it ain't never going to be over with. Not in my lifetime. But with one thing about it, we must keep the faith and keep doing what we're doing. Because there are warriors out there that will continue to fight. And this ain't over with yet. And that's all I have to say. And I will continue to listen to the show.
All right, all right. You were about to say something, Walter?
Yes. This been going on for like forever. Since 1913, it's like the New World Order where we're fighting for that spot right now. We're making enemies, we got allies. You know, Russia was our ally during World War II, during Cold War. It's like the big, some kind of bullies. A lot of countries are the big bullies. Then we just control the little guys everywhere. Only because of arms. We sell the most arms. There's 7, 8, 9 countries sell the most arms in the whole world.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
But see, they got BRIC now, where you have Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They all together. They talking about a different currency. The United States ain't what it used to be.
Yes.
Declining.
Starts with a B. Starts with a B.
Right.
What they were talking about, it's about 30 nations. They want to get away from the petrodollars, from American currency. And then you ever notice a lot of countries are buying gold now? A lot
Yeah.
of countries are buying gold, and then crypto. Crypto is a bunch of baloney. They got nothing backing cryptocurrency, but that's the biggest thing now. I don't like it one bit.
And Africa, they was it Kwani? It's Babasa. I don't know how to pronounce it. They kicked the French out,
Yes.
and they got electric car now. In Zimbabwe, it's a guy that's got a car that work on radio waves.
Yes.
So they and then they're getting all the Africans to stop these deals with the white people, where they come in and take their resources and then give them nothing, leave them poor. It's a different world today, and the
Then and
states,
then also the Chinese are in Africa too.
right? The Chinese are in it too.
Like Cameroon, that's French colony. It's like it's all broken up. The French colonies in Africa, Italy was Dutch, German, English. They were all over there.
Mm-hmm.
They just stealing like natural resources like diamonds. The
Right.
biggest company was in Africa, pumping how much diamonds out of there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So the
Yeah, but
reality, it's all about world domination and control.
natural resources, pretty much. New World Order, natural resources, and put countries into debt.
Yeah.
Because that's a big policy. They want to, like, if you can't pay the debt, we'll take your natural resources. That's the biggest thing now.
Well, that's why Trump is trying to bully Ukraine into letting them have their mine ores.
Yeah, natural resources, Ukraine, also in Greenland, a lot of natural resources in Greenland. Look at BlackRock. They bought the ports in Panama from China now. So BlackRock is like one of the biggest companies we have. But they
Mm-hmm.
control everything. Them, think Vanguard and some other. They control the assets. Seem
Mm-hmm.
like the upper 1% control everything.
Yeah.
We're just being slaves for the money. inflation, that's the man-made thing.
Right.
Inflation.
Let me say this. Inflation is just greed. And I
That's
remember
true.
in 1971, when Richard Nixon was the president, we had all kind of inflation. And it was
Yes.
July 15th or August 15th, uh, 1971, Richard Nixon said, if anybody raised any more taxes, any more buying goods, I'm locking them up. And they
Yes.
didn't have any more inflation. Inflation stopped.
Look
It's
at all the JFK files came out. Like like the mob killed him and our own government killed him.
right,
Because Lyndon B. Johnson want to have that Vietnam War. You know?
right. So
So they've been doing this stuff to us forever, since the 1913 to
yeah,
now. September 11th could be an inside job, but these guys won't say it yet. But I think it's an inside job.
it
'Cause
was.
yeah,
That's a,
'cause the day
that's
before they burned all the records.
a very big inside job. What? Almost 2,000 people died.
Yes, and they told a lot of people to stay home that day.
Yeah,
So it's like
But
inside job.
wait. So what do you mean they told a lot of people to stay home?
you talking about
There were
September?
there were a lot of bigwigs were there. They told a lot of people to stay home. A certain group of people to stay home that day. Because
Yeah,
we got the Mossad was involved, CIA, everybody was involved.
I
They
think I
they
told you
would
this story about that, right? I was taking
okay.
some classes for my master's at IIT, and this one particular class was it was Eastern and Western law, and that one particular day we sat. It was a summer class. I needed it to get out of there,
Okay.
and the professor decided to take the class out on the campus outside, and he started talking about he lived in Hyde Park. And if anybody ever knew this, I'm telling you now, the most Nobel Peace laureates, whether you won it or you were nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, the majority of them came out of Hyde Park, Illinois. But anyway, this professor that was teaching me this class with Eastern and Western law, he tells all the students. Now, this was in August of 2021. No, I'm sorry, not 2021, 2001. And he says, every weekend I go online and I talk to a lot of Nobel Peace Prize laureates, and we chat online. He said, but there's some chatter online right now saying something catastrophic is about to happen throughout the world. We're not sure what it is, but it's some chatter. It's going all over. Well, we didn't realize that he was telling us that 9/11 was going to happen the next month. Because people have been talking about it. Here it is, professor at IIT that lived in Hyde Park that was already, chatting online with people all over the world, and he got news of it. And then sure enough, it could have been maybe 30, 15 days later, 9/11
Didn't they
happened.
bomb it? Didn't they bomb they bombed that in 93, I believe. World Trade Center with the truck underneath it.
They did. But that was just the beginning, because what happened in 2000, the USS Cole was hit in what month was that? It was kind of cool out. So it might have been October or September again. But I can Google it. But yeah, the USS Cole was hit in Yemen with a suicide bomb. And that's they got on really a big alert, because I was in Connecticut doing some business, and I was in Bradley Field, and Bradley's real, not such a big airport. I mean, all I remember is when you go through the gate, it was just a person standing there behind a rope, and you put your thing on the thing and let them check it, and none of this TSA stuff and no guards. they said, hey, we need to talk to you about what you got in your suitcase. This is, 2000, either September or something like that. I'm going to Google the USS Cole when it was hit that day. And I was in Connecticut. They said, what are these things? What are these metal objects in this bag, in this paper bag that you have inside your carry-on? I said, oh, those are just samples from a machine that I went to go check out that manufactures, that cuts metal. They said, oh, okay. And they gave it back to me. And I'm like, I've been coming to Bradley Field for years, since since 93 for business. And here it is, 2000, and they stopped me. And I felt some kind of way about that, not realizing they had, and the guy told me, the person at the airport said, well, we're just checking a little closer because we were told by the feds that we need to be on our P's and Q's because something's going to happen. Now, did the USS Cole happen? Yeah, it did happen. It had already happened because I remember being at the manufacturing facility, and one of the maintenance guys or service guys that works on those machines, he said to me, oh, I need to take my military ID out of my wallet. I said, why you gotta do that? He says, well, I'm going to Europe next week to work on a machine. And I don't want to go to Europe with a U.S. military ID because, the USS Cole just got hit. That's what prompted him to take his ID out of his wallet. He said, because when you go to Europe, and they find out you're in the U.S. military, man, they'll kidnap you over there. I'm like, what are you talking about? Now, this is in 2000. So this was all coming down the pipe. It was just little increments of what was being fed to us. And it's similar to what's going on today. We're getting little increments of what's being fed to us before we get the whole meal. I mean, if you agree or disagree, let me know.
Could be.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you what I see. This is what I see. I see a whole lot of people, and I'm gonna call it what it is. Namely, white people. Ain't nobody saying nothing about what's going on. Like this is all normal. They're just like, well, yeah, okay, well, okay, yeah, like this ain't normal. And then the other question is, what is supposed to be normal?
Well, I think a lot of people are disappointed. Even Black folks that voted for Trump, everybody's disappointed. So now they don't put their foot in their mouth, so now they don't know what to do.
Is that what it is? People are in shock, or are they just?
And they don't believe it's gonna happen to them.
Right. So now they disappointed. They thought they had it going on.
Let me say this. I think
a lot of black people. A lot of black people voted for Trump because when the first time he was in office, he gave out those little stimulus checks, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, he gonna be giving out those checks." I've heard a lot of people say that mess. Oh yeah, I voted for him because he gonna give us them checks. That's stupid. Excuse me.
Well, I heard that those checks came from Obama. That Trump just put his name on them.
And that could be very well be true because he will steal somebody else's ideas.
I'm gonna tell y'all. I'm gonna say this. What's different from LBJ, John F. K., Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama? I ain't gonna even throw Trump in there because he's just one that's way out there. But I think they all follow a certain protocol.
They all capitalists.
Well, that's for sure.
All right.
And just like you all was saying, a lot of times by the time we hear about stuff, the wheels are already in motion. Things are already in play. We get right where, you got 30 seconds before the bomb goes off. They'll tell us 10 seconds before it goes off. So we always get the brunt of it. They already know everything. It could be years in advance before, that they already know. And then later on, years later, we'll find out, or months later, or weeks later. We never know what's happening right away.
Because they are planning. See, they gets together. You think they dislike each other, but they get together. They plan. They plan.
Yes, ma'am. Everything is by design. Everything is by design.
Of course. But we on something else, and we don't sit down and we don't get together because we so backbiting each other. We don't get together to try to work things together to find out, what we can do, for our future.
That's why I love this program.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, y'all. We really have to open our eyes and ears to everything that's going on, because whether it's on the federal level, it's on the local level. I hate to say it, we getting duped on some things, and we should be way better off than we are right now. Are we better off than most people in the world? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people in other countries and other places, they don't even know where their lights are going to be on at, or if they even have a home, or if they even have food. But that's nevertheless, right now, there are a lot of uncertainties where we are because of the power structures that are in place. I mean, I talked to Congressman Davis today, and he laid it out to me. We talked for a good 10 minutes on the phone, and he said, Steve, the situation, it got to be like this. And I'm like, man, we're talking like we've been going through this for years or something. He's like, because people thought it wasn't going to be them. He said, it's the blacks. It's just going to be the blacks. Then the people that were handicapped. Well, it's not going to be me because I'm not the handicapped. Then he says, well, the seniors. Well, it's not going to be me because it's not the seniors. And it just went on and on. Everybody thought it's not them. And that's where we end up with the situation. But that's the same thing that happened with the Jews in World War II, and Hitler. They were like, oh, it's not going to be me. It's just the Jews. Then they invaded Lithuania. Then they invaded, France. Then they invaded, it was always, it's not going to be a me. It's the other man.
But now that we know that it's us, what are we going to do?
Well, that's the big question, because we've relinquished all rights and power that we have through our vote. And our vote is, like they say, your vote is your voice. Well, we don't have a voice at the the people that voted. We live in a democracy. We don't sit back and say, oh, well, we do say that. This person, their party won, so there's, that ain't right. You know what? They say the same thing when our party win, But the problem is, how many lives will it devastate and totally affect? That's the problem.
Again, I think Trump stole this election. I don't think he won it.
Well, that's a big theory. I mean, that's kind of been going around. I've heard
that's what a lot of people have been saying, that he had Elon Musk to do something with the technology to change the votes so that he would be the winner. That's like the first time he did that. I went to sleep. Hillary Clinton was winning. I woke up and the news was on, and I started crying because I'm like, wait a minute, am I dreaming? I couldn't believe it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is true the way it went down, but again, where are the vanguards? They're supposed to look out for all and make sure that everything is safe and equitable and right. We don't have those vanguards anymore. We don't have the Supreme Court that's supposed to be non-biased and non-partisan. I mean,
And now I hear that Trump is going after all of the judges and all of the federal
It's
entities.
not funny, but it's just a mess.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
going after all of them. He's trying to get the judge that went against him impeached. He going after everybody who has not been for him. And that's like so narcissistic and crazy.
yeah, but we seen that in Hitler. We seen that in Mussolini. We've seen that in a lot of people. That's what amazes me, that this story isn't the first time it's been written. You know,
That is true. That's
Right.
true.
And let me say this. And you know, you talk about the Jews and the Holocaust. It was black people in Germany too.
yeah,
Ain't nothing about that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they was killing the black people. They was sterilizing them. You know,
Mhm.
and
it's,
and and if you go to that Holocaust museum, uh, you don't see none of that. They act like it just happened to the Jews.
Right.
Or the
Right.
Polish. They didn't say nothing about the Polish at all.
Right.
well, they did. They said Jews.
But there are 3 million Polish Catholics died.
Oh yeah, yeah. They were Catholics. They were Christian Catholics. Yeah, Catholics, not Christian. Catholics, which
Yeah,
are
because
Christian.
we're not inhumane or whatever. Where we're not human.
Well, they came after the gypsies too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reality was, it was always, it's not me. It must be them, and that's the problem. That's where we're at now. It's not me. It must be them. And the issue is, how do we get beyond this? Because obviously, you know, he has the Senate, he has the House of Representatives, he has the Supreme Court, he has the military, he has it looks like he's got the Federal Reserve right there too. I don't know what the heck going on. How did he get that?
Federal Reserve is a scam.
Yeah.
Because we're enslaved in that system.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're making money. Everybody's making money off of us.
Sure is.
Mm-hmm.
Interest rates. In the Bible, it says we're not supposed to charge interest rates.
Right. Right. But interest, you mentioned the Bible. I was thinking about this. The situation has always been the rich against the poor. The government
Always.
taxes making the poor people pay.
Always.
Yeah.
Throughout time.
Yeah.
That's why we have all these wars in Europe all over taxes.
Right.
Because what they want to take away our guns away, then you could control the people. That's what they did in Germany. First they take their guns away, then they control people. They did it to a lot of countries, in China too. They took their guns away and then they control.
That's amazing. He took the guns away from the people that invented gunpowder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And gave them drugs. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a big company from England gave them the opium wars
Yeah.
over there? Yeah, because England was there. Hong Kong, they were in Pakistan and India. Because what they got natural resources, India, precious rubies, diamonds, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So Chuck Guns is gone out of business, right?
Chuck who?
Chuck Guns is gone out of business.
It did it 136.
On the south side, you mean?
Yeah, it's out there in Riverdale.
Yeah.
Oh, Riverdale with the fur coat.
Bales and where's that? Melrose Park. They went out of business. I believe the one in Riverdale. A lot of them went out of business.
Is that due because of Amazon?
One thing. they're not taking our guns away.
No, no.
They're infesting our communities with guns and drugs. So
Yeah.
that's how they're destroying us.
Let me get this straight. I only got water guns.
Mm-hmm.
Water gun, Super Soaker 1000.
Yeah. Okay. You know somebody can get you what you need, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they still running them. They still running the guns, but I was just saying Chuck had went out of business. I'm saying, but yeah, they still running guns. I know.
Is that a fact? Is that a fact that Chuck gone out of business?
Oh yeah, because that pastor went in front of it. Flegger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where was it located?
In Riverdale.
Yeah, 136, and it was California, Sacramento, something like that.
Okay. And then you said something about bells or something?
Bells went out a long time ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought somebody said something about North
Yeah, Bells is on. They were on Manheim Road in Melrose Park. Yeah, they've been gone for a while now. Yeah,
decades.
Yeah, what they do?
Melrose.
Yeah, well, they don't want us to have guns.
Mm-mm.
They don't want you to have guns, but these other folks got guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Listen, 3 kids just got shot here on Central Park in Crenshaw.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah.
How old?
15.
That's too young.
Well, that's all they hang right here at this corner at Central Park and Crenshaw. There's a whole bunch of young people, and that's what they doing every day.
What
banging?
Huh? Oh, I didn't hear you.
Pardon?
You kept going in and out. What did you say, Steve? I'm sorry.
The same thing about that is the police department is 1 block away.
Oh, are you kidding me? We got 3 police. We got 3 police departments over here. We got the one on Harrison, we got the one right here on Ogden, and we got the one right here on Kedzie.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is,
the closer the station is, the far away they are.
Yeah. Well, they killed somebody on there on Harrison and Kedzie. They killed somebody right in front of the station.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had and then they beat a young lady who 16 years old that was going to Manley High School. Somebody beat her to death in the park, and they had a memorial service for her today.
Right. I was supposed to go to that. And it was a 13-year-old boy over in K-Town. Somebody shot him in the head, say to try to get him to join the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, what are they doing, the mayor? Nothing about this.
Well, hey, what can it? And then now I know, but some police were dropping bags of guns out in the alleys.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. They've been doing that forever.
Come on now.
Right. You know, but it is a God. That's the bottom line. It is a God.
Oh, yes. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
It's a lot. And it's not even summertime yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the downside. The weather hasn't even gotten better.
Yeah, but where's all the youth?
But you know what? Now I sometimes I think it's okay, the community. I'm just making an example. Us, community. And we need to, I'm trying to give a what they call it. Well, anyway, We can work together with the policemen, like when we see young people standing on the corner. We need resources to whereas we go to the corners, policemen and the community get to the corners, get the peoples off the street. Now, when we ask them to get off the corner, we have to have some place for these kids to go.
Yes.
You follow what I'm saying? We
need
let them stand on the corner.
we need some youth programs for them to go to.
Right, but I'm just saying, okay, why the community and the policemen can't work together? Okay, little John, you can't stand on this corner. Now, come on now, either you go and enroll in this program or, you can't stand on this corner here. Now, we got to have this to offer them once we tell them that they can't stand on the corner.
So, Ms. Jacobs,
Yeah.
this is Camilla. I work with young people every day. That's part of my job, is to get them enrolled in school. And I have been over backwards trying to get kids enrolled in school, and I get them in school and they don't want to go to school. I do all this paperwork to get them into schools, and instead they want to go hang on the corner.
But
That's
there ain't
what
no
they do.
corner. There's people dying on the corners everywhere.
Yeah, but to them it's freedom.
Yeah,
It's
but you
freedom.
could be a bomb.
You know what's nice about that? Back in the day, even the bad kids wanted to get into the school so they could create havoc in the schools. Until the administrators put them back out of the school. So it's weird. They didn't want to be outside either. They wanted to be in there where everything was going on.
And I can remember a couple, well, it wasn't a couple years ago, but a few years back, they did have an initiative where the police were busting up the fellas standing out on the corners. Then people were saying that the police were harassing the young people. They couldn't even stand on a block, or they couldn't do this. So they stopped doing it, and they starting to be back out there again.
But see, this is what's happening. The peoples at the top can always get the rules to our community, but we are the ones that's dealing with it. And even they need these truant officers back in these schools as well. So back in the day, you all remember when the kid was not at school,
the truant officer would come.
Yeah.
The truant officer would go to the house and find out why this child is not in school.
Right.
Yeah, they don't have the truant officers anymore.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, see, they cutting out all the things to benefit the children and the community. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Well, what I was told, the reason they don't have truant officers is because they have the phone system. The phone system calls the parents and let them know their kid's not there. And they figure every parent has a cell phone now, and they can go straight to them. So they let the parent know immediately the kid's not here. So now it's up to the parents to be the truant officer.
But
those calls don't come out until the evening. Those calls come out around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening.
Then what about the parents smoking weed and just drinking beer all day and messing around and stuff?
That's true.
Well, let me say this. The peacemakers, we started out. We first started out with he was Lieutenant Cato then. We've been working with the police, and May 17th we having a peace concert on, I think, the police department on 57th and Madison, in that lot right across from it, and we have police.
Wait. That's the 15th district.
Okay. So
on Waller and Madison.
Right. So we're gonna have police. We're gonna have politicians. We're gonna have preachers. We're gonna have community groups, and we're gonna get together and talk about peace, cause we have to do it. And I'm asking everybody online to join us May 17th on what's it, Waller and Madison for peace. Support it.
Right, but okay, Tiny, and that's good. I have no with that. But what I'm saying is the preachers and the politicians and everything, we community need to get together and get with these corners. That's what I'm talking about. That's the main thing.
Right. Well, I remember we used to when Bush had the West Side
Yep,
People's Progress, we used to go on the corners where the
yeah,
drug dealers was. And
yes, we did. Yes,
right,
we did. You're
and
right. But
right,
Wow.
we need to get back with that.
right,
Yes.
you know.
And then, I mean, they need school programs like summer work when they're 16, 15 years old.
No, we need a lot of things. We need we need
They do. They have the one summer Chicago jobs, but I'm gonna tell you something else. And if I wasn't working in it every day and see it firsthand, I would say
Mhm.
somebody was telling a lie. A lot of kids, well, some of them want to have the jobs, but a lot of them they don't want they don't want that structure. They don't want people telling them what to do. They want to just be able to do what they want to do.
Well,
They
it's
say,
not good.
F that. Ain't nobody, ain't no what, how much they paying?
Oh,
That ain't no money, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but if they want to make money,
but there used to be only one or two kids that would say that, and then they would look like the outsiders because it's like, well, who's with me? They turn around, you ain't got nobody, everybody else in school. So now they
there's no.
crying and trying to get back into school.
And
What
it,
about
Too
the
many of them
parents?
like that now.
and I'm gonna tell you something else that if I wouldn't see it with my own eyes, I would think somebody was lying. It's not just boys, it's these girls too. Girls and the
Yep.
boys now.
The,
Wow.
the girls are worse
And
than the boys.
some of these girls rougher than these boys. Yes,
yep,
sir. Yeah.
yep,
Oh,
yep, yep,
wow.
yep.
Where's the parents involved in their education?
The parents on drugs. Most of them being raised by their grandparents.
Yep, yep, yep.
That's not right. You
Or
know.
by the DCFS system, because that's how I know firsthand.
Mm.
My
Yeah, but
Lord,
the
my Lord,
DCFS is a broken system.
It's garbage. It's garbage.
my Lord,
I mean,
my
they need
Lord.
these boys and men clubs around, bring the kids around to some baseball games or music, to get out of the neighborhood for at least a day, get out of the city, go to the country or something, see something else.
And now, even with those programs, with the mentorship programs, um, you know, you might have good intentions, but now people have to go through extensive background checks to work with these kids nowadays.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Miss Jacobs, you remember we used to be up in Reverend Wright's school?
Yeah, yeah,
And
I know.
yeah,
I know. Yeah, we was out there.
would cook breakfast for them. We let
I
them
sure did.
ball. We talk about God. You know,
Right, right. We sure
Um,
did.
yeah.
We sure
See, that
did.
sounds good. You should have more of those programs.
Right. So the thing is, don't give up. Just do something. If we all just do something, it'll work out. Cause
But
it's more good people than it is bad people.
You know what's
but
amazing to
there's
me? We're going back to that trend of the grandparents raising the kids. That was the 90s. All the crack babies from the 80s and their parents ended up dead or in jail, got supported and taken care of by their grandparents in the 90s. Then all the grandparents died by 2000 something. So now we're going back to the grandparents again?
Yeah, but the
Yep.
grandmother's 36 years old.
Yeah, either the grandparents or the system.
Right.
Yep.
wow.
Yep.
No, but there ain't no like YMCA programs on the west side.
Well, we work with a program called the Epstein Center on 13th and Holman, and we just had
Okay.
an elder event where we had some older people and some young people get together and ask questions and talk to them. So it's still going on. It's not a lot,
Yeah,
but
they built a new YMCA there in Holman Square. And the YMCA that we grew up at, Sears YMCA, that was on Arlington and Kedzie, they shoot back in the 90s, they made that a halfway house for parolees.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, people coming out.
And
Yep, and closed down the YMCA.
yeah.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
at YMCA for Jobs for Youth, where they taught
Mhm.
us how to prepare ourselves to work on jobs.
See, that's the
Mhm.
main thing. Work on jobs, learn a trade,
Mhm.
because life goes by quick.
It does.
Everybody got a niche. They gotta learn their niche in life.
Yeah, but you know
You
what,
know,
Craig?
oh, I'm sorry. You know,
No,
one thing that makes me so fearful, that I really worry about, and it hurts me. It hurts my heart, is because I'll see kids that are really trying to do something in life, going to school, good kids, respectable kids. And then they have to be out here with these kids that have no hope, don't care
Right,
about life, or
right,
respect their
right,
life or nobody
right,
else's life.
right.
I have had to witness kids getting jumped on, and
Mm,
because
mm, mm.
the
Because they're
bully
the
kids,
smart kids, right? They're the
right, because
smart
they the
kids.
smart kids and they trying to do something. Oh my God, that tears me up.
Yes,
I
Yeah,
get
Lord.
so
My
angry.
they've
Lord.
been going on forever. Give me your lunch money and all that stuff. You're
I
too smart.
Yeah,
You
but
know
now
what?
it's worse.
You know what we need here in Chicago is a job corps. I
Mm-hmm.
think they got one farther somewhere, some going to Michigan or somewhere. But
I
we
was I
need
was
a
I was I was talking about that. Me and Steve, we need a job corps. Oh my god.
but
Child
see,
poor
that's what
Lincoln's challenge.
we need to get together with these politicians and whoever. We need a job corps in our community. Get these little guys, snatch them up, and let's get it in there. Get these sheriffs, these policemen. That's jobs too, and community
You know?
people. That's jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then their life.
So
That's
what
their
kind
Yeah,
of
life.
job?
yeah.
What
That
would they,
you saving lives.
Yeah,
what would
Yeah.
they do? I mean, what kind of jobs would they do?
Trade.
Well,
Learn a trade.
yeah,
right. Get
welding.
paid. Yes.
Like used to do welding and um vocational
Carpenters.
stuff,
Yeah.
carpentry, welding, cosmetology, even
Yes. Yes.
So
barber, being a
Yes.
barber,
Cooking,
uh what
where
else?
do we
cooking,
scatter?
But
barber shop,
this
Tool and die, all kind of stuff.
this
Yes.
Well,
3D
Getting
minister.
out,
printing,
getting into
computers.
computer science, because that technology, that makes a lot of good money now. No, because
You
everything
know,
is computerized.
3D printing is big.
Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
my problem with that. My problem is it's just like drugs and alcohol. They say, you got to change your people, your places, and things. So you got to get them up out of here. And where do we take them? To Africa, South America, Europe?
No, Job Corps.
Yeah, but
Right.
you can't do it in the same environment
Why not?
because they're going to still face the challenges on the street.
That's what we saying. We got to get together and get them off the corners, and we'll have some place to take them for the trades and things. That's what I'm saying. We got to try to create something.
Yes,
Well,
it's generations.
it's about taking them to a different environment and let them do that. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe it works that way also. I'm a big advocate for show people a different way of life and they'll live a different way of life.
Well, now,
So, I agree with that, Steve, but I'm gonna tell you something else. That's like when I was working in locked facility in mental health. Um, that the kids that we were working with, like they learn coping skills, they learn things to do, and they can do real well while they're in the program. And then when it's time for them to be released, it's like, okay, don't let us see you back in here no more. You learn, you got your tools, you know what to do. And maybe I wouldn't even say 3 to 6 months, some of the same ones coming right back in there. And they was like, what happened? And he was like, well, damn, I didn't learn everything I'm supposed to do. But then I go back home and my people still doing the same stupid mess they was doing. So pretty
Right,
soon I'm falling right back into it.
right.
Well,
So
But you
yeah, you
know,
can't go back in the same environment.
but you know,
Yeah.
Steve, you know, Cy Smith, he does that exchange for these kids. He does the exchange. So now, say for instance, Little John here in Chicago is acting out and out. They take Little John from Chicago and take him to Atlanta. And Little Bob from Atlanta, they bring him to Chicago. But they have work for them to do once they come here or once they go there. He's doing the exchange.
exchange.
Yeah, they call it exchange.
I know Tyrone is, but my problem is he ain't got enough exchange going on. Because onesie twosie ain't doing it.
You know why he don't have the exchange? Because the parent don't want their child to leave. And the child don't want to leave. And see, this is why they can't force people. So what we saying is we get a Job Corps here in this city. Then they can travel, have a bus or van or whatever. Travel, they can take them this place and that place maybe once a month or whatever to see the other part of the world. See what other kids are doing in other cities.
So are we truly talking about kids or are we talking about 25, 35-year-olds?
Well, I would say Job
I'm
Corps
talking about
start
teenagers.
like 16. Job Corps start from 16 up to 20, I think.
What happened to high school at 16?
Huh?
What happened to high school at 16? At the age of 16?
That's why they going to
A
Job
lot of them
Corps.
aren't going to school anymore.
No, they're not going to school anymore. That's the purpose of Job Corps, because they're not going to school. Yeah, that's how they do it.
I'll tell you what the whole problem is. We understand why the parents have failed the kids, but the system has failed the kids. Because we're all part of the system, whether the parents or the people that's working for the system or the kids themselves. We are all part of the system. So the system has failed. I was just looking at something the other day. They said there's 7 schools that have real low enrollment. Manly has about 116. Frederick Douglass High School has like 28. Austin has like I think it was like 212. El Raby has like 100 and something. And there was one school out south, Hirsch High School, had like less than 100 and something. But my thing to say about that is it's the system. Yeah, the other part of it is people not having kids like they used to. You know, they're shutting down daycare. Walter, you just told me they shut down St. Williams. St. Williams been around what? 75, 80 years, 100 years?
100 years. All because of tuition. I mean, you could go like around it. I mean, they should just lower tuition. You get more and more students.
Well, the problem is not just tuition, Walter. I hate to tell you this. Since the pandemic, a lot of people didn't go back to church. The Catholic Church, you know, as much as they say money come from Rome, it's still that the church changed up a long time ago, and they started telling that each parish had to sustain their own. And being that the parish would have more members and take a collection, a lot of that money went towards to help the schools and the students. Even though the parents paid for the tuition, they also supplemented it through the church, what do you call it, a tithe or whatever.
And then all that funny business, the priests are touching the kids. That's not good.
And lawsuits out the nose too. So that's another, you know, again, just like in the city of Chicago, we get hit with all these taxes because we got all these crooked ass cops and these stupid ass cops out here doing stupid ass shit, and we got to pay the cost. I just heard DeAndre the other day. He was on a meeting and he says, yeah, you know, the 15th district got one of the Proud Boys over there, and we trying to make sure we get him up out of there. But he said, you know, realistically, you know, I wasn't really involved with them. Only when I was in the military, I was involved with them. So, you know, I'm not really involved with them now. And I'm like, what?
look at this. So your sheet was out at the cleaners getting dry cleaned during the Klan rally. So that's why you didn't go to the rally that day. The moral of the story is you're still a Klansman. So whether you're wearing your sheet or not. And he trying to, the cop trying to say, yeah, I do that in the military on my own time or whatever. And my point is, it's not good.
Well,
anybody.
I read somewhere that Trump is trying to get rid of that database that tracks the cops who have been misbehaving and have all kind of patterns of behavior that's not conducive to people. He's trying to get rid of that agency. Whereas if a cop does something bad in one police district, he would transfer to another, and that pass would follow them. But Trump is getting rid of that and don't want that database to be available when you hire a policeman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's getting rid of all of that. I read that in the newspaper last week.
What's the point of having district council and the point of having a commission and the point of having COPA and the point of having all of these different agencies that's supposed to monitor and track the behavior and the situations with law enforcement, with civilians and the public.
Well, he's getting rid of it, so we don't have that anymore. So this cop, he can be a racist and come to somewhere else and still continue that pattern of behavior, and we can't track it because there's no database anymore for it.
I mean, some police officers are like gangbangers and cokeheads.
Yeah.
And that's proven. That's all like across the board.
Yeah, but it's easy to find out who they are. I mean, the fish always stinks from the head. Remember that. So if it's go, you just brought forth an observation. You think you're the only person to know that? I'm sure the head knows that. But the situation is, what are they doing about it?
Nothing. They just accepted it and going on like business as usual.
With being a cop.
And if you just look at the movies, the police are always behind the drugs.
Yeah.
Well, let's break this down.
That's not just in the movies.
And they're getting paid off. They're getting paid off.
Let's break this down. Bad cops make good cops look bad. Good cops don't make bad cops look good.
I mean, their politicians deal with the bad guys too.
Yeah.
That's 100% true.
And how can we weed the bad cops out? Who's in charge of that? What can be done if we don't know they're bad cops?
The good cops have to stand up against the bad cops.
But the problem with that, Tiny, is the good cops sometimes are afraid because they know these guys are corrupt and they will have them moved out the way. It's happened time and time again.
But you know what? These officers are supposed to be evaluated every so often. They're supposed to be evaluated.
Yeah, but sometimes every so often doesn't come soon enough. That's the problem.
That's true too. But they suppose, in fact, they have been doing background checks before you could become an officer or whatever. So that's one thing they supposed to be doing a background check.
Let me tell you something. There's so many things that get past the front door when you become a police officer. Me and DeAndre's mothers, we sat in at the academy and worked with some cops about 5-6 years ago, and they were new. They were all new recruits. And I had a group of about 7. I'm sitting at the table, and I said, hey, fill out this thing on this board. I had everybody write on it. Why do you want to be a policeman? One of the guys, he was from Indiana, a young white guy. He says, because I wanted to be a part of the brotherhood. And I'm like, I already know what that's code for, dude. Ain't no brotherhood. It's called law enforcement officers. When you say brotherhood, you mean the people that's doing the, under the table, what's the thing? The Aryan Brotherhood, the thing that DeAndre was talking about, the Proud Boys, all that. And then he wrote it on there. So at the end of the evaluation, we had about 10 tables in there with 10 different civilians sitting at the table with these new recruits. And then the higher ups selected the boards. And then one higher up that came to my table, he says, "Look at this. Y'all see this on here?" I said, "Yeah, that's the guy right there. Y'all get ready to bring in." He put that on there. Now, what's the next steps for preventing him from being a cop? Because that kind of mentality is going to be a problem. A problem, trust me. And you think they did?
And what about this guy Burge and these other cops who falsely got all of these people locked up for 20 years and carrying on, and they don't do nothing to them?
Nope.
No.
I mean, it is. Look, I knew a guy. His name was Irvin. It'd be like 32 years ago. They sat at my house. He and another young lady that I went to high school with. We had a dinner at my old house, Farmington, Austin, and they said, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to the academy next week." One was a girl, was a woman, the other was a man. He said, "I'm going to the academy too." I'm like, "Oh, good luck." So I didn't see them for some years, other than the one person that was the girl. And the guy, I ended up seeing him some years, maybe 8, 9 years later. And he said, "Yeah, I'm at the 25th district, this and that, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Oh, wow, that's good." He goes, "Yeah, but it's a little difficult working there, because they don't call, the 25th district is on Central and Grand." He said, "But they call it Central and Klan." I said, "Central and Klan?" He's like, "Yeah, man, it's rough." And I said, "Yeah," he said, "it's rough." And I said, and he told me a story about one time he had a white partner. And I don't know what happened between he and that partner, but they got a car to go into an abandoned building somewhere on the west side. And his partner kept saying, "You go on in into the front, go, and I'll meet you in the back or something." And he was like, "Man, I'm not doing that." So something went down with that partner where he didn't trust that partner, or he called that partner out on something that he had seen on the street, and he didn't trust that guy to have his back. He thought he was getting set up, to go in the building. And he refused to do what he told me. I was like, wow, man, you got to deal with this kind of stuff as a cop.
Aren't they like understaffed also?
Well, yeah, in this current day, there's what, 1,000, 1,500 short or something like that, 2,000 short or something. I don't know.
But didn't under Lightfoot they want to defund the police?
Yeah, but that whole defund crap was that's just semantics. It wasn't take the money from the police. It was like utilize police money resources for some other things. Like, we work with police. One of the things I told them they need to come up with is they need to come up with some drones. The city owns these light poles, and they have electricity. Have a drone posted on in a quadrant on these posts. When something jump off, that drone comes out of this case, and it goes into the scene. It's got a shot spotter on it. It goes right there to the scene before anybody else can get there. It's got eyes on the situation. Everybody can see the situation. You got 5 drones chasing whatever situation, and then it is what it is. You cutting down on costs. You get more powerful support, and it's a drone. It don't take a lot to control a drone.
And also, they don't have shot spotter now.
I know, but put it on the drones. There you go.
I think that's Eddie Johnson.
That was my recommendation to the police, because they call it what is that room called? The HD room or something room where they watch the cameras on the corners. Man, half the time them guys in there talking, shooting shit. I've been in the rooms with them. They ain't even watching all of this shit. I was sitting there going, did you just see what just happened? Now they go back and run the film when after the fact. You know, policing is an after the fact situation. You know, it's not proactive, it's reactive. That's why I thought Chicago Neighborhood Policing Initiative, which started out in AC back in 2017, 2018, I said, man, this is a hell of a great idea. Old school policing. But we gonna get back on the streets and walk a beat and get off the radio, get to know people and build relationships and make shit happen. I'm like, this is how we gonna do it. We gonna have to go back to old school policing. Now, don't get me wrong, we can still use a little bit of technology. Like I told the police about a situation that's been going on since 2005. 20 years on the spot drugs. I know of it for 20 years. And I said, how y'all don't know of it? Because people call, people told you to come out here and handle the situation, but you guys don't have no solution for it. For 20 years, everybody see these guys out here every day. They done got so good at it, they created their own public works. Where they go, they got garbage cans with carts with wheels on it and push brooms and squeegee boards and paper picker uppers. They go up and down the block where they sell their drugs and clean the block. So, like, streets and sanitation people. You know, but
yeah, but some of those corners been going on for over 20 years. Drug corners.
Yeah,
so wait,
generations.
So wait,
you don't think?
So people crank on Teleferro and say, hey man, you need to get a camera over here. Get a camera. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. Took them 10 years to get a camera. 10, 12 years to get a camera. They get the camera. What do the guys do? They move out of the side of the camera, go to the other end of the block. So what I tell the police, I said, why don't you just get a mobile camera and just keep moving it every time they move? We ain't too concerned about the sellers, because obviously you let the some bitches be there for 20 years. It is what it is. So why don't you just get the people that's buying? Move the camera, because I'm telling you, you keep moving that camera, and you make a few arrests, some buyers gonna stop coming from over far. They're gonna stop coming from Route 4. They're gonna stop coming from
the suburbs.
Yeah, I thought they were supposed to have satellites. I thought they were supposed to have satellites that had the cameras to zoom in on areas.
Yeah, they probably do, but you know, you asking. They really do have that, but they're not going to spend that kind of. You know what they told me about the remote cameras that's like on the big. You see them in the Kmart parking lots and all that. I'm like, get one of them, put it on the spot, and just keep moving it, because that was Teleferro's fault. Oh, it's going to cost $100,000. It's going to cost $50,000. It's going to cost $100 to put it up there. Blah 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 blah. Really? What about the inconvenience of people for decades? What about the inconvenience of people, you know, how many lives we've been lost on this block? How about the people that don't, you know, they got bullet holes in their homes and all this crap? But he, you know, he get the whole rigmarole crap. But nevertheless, so guess what I saw 2 days ago on the spot? No, the police told me when I said about having the mobile cameras, they said, well, Steve, you know, we can't put that out there. No, I wasn't the police. It was Teleferro, which used to be the police for the same location. Oh, guess what's going to happen? You know, those guys will damage the police camera. Man, are you freaking crazy? If you're the police and you can't protect your own, what's your purpose? You're talking stupid to me to tell me that you can't put your own police situations out and protect it and dare somebody to touch it and dare them to touch it. Then you know what? You need to give your badge up. You need to give it up. So guess what? I drive around the corner a couple of days ago. I see a mobile camera. I guess Steve can't be the one to give you the right answers. You got to make this shit your own idea. I don't even care. Just get it done. But I see the mobile camera, and now what happened to that idea? Oh, we can't put that out there because, you know, if we do that, they're gonna touch it. They're gonna damage it. That's why I call a camera, you idiot. You can see who it is. But again, you know, everything that is, look, I remember I had a situation for a friend that was on the police department. He was the what do you call it? He's like the commander. He's the commander of detectives in Area Central. And he was pulled in on the case for Laquan McDaniel. And there was 3 higher ups in the room. He was one of them. I guess it must have been it was McCarthy, and it might have been Johnson. If I'm not mistaken. I'm not gonna say Johnson, but I know McCarthy was the chief. And when they reviewed the tapes, immediately after Laquan was shot 16 times, my buddy told me, and I know him since he was 18, and I was 23. He used to, he used to work under us, he used to look up to us and everything. And he said, man, I got pulled in on that case because I was detective at Area Central, and then the inspector general would subpoena me and ask me what happened in the room with John McCarthy. And then he said, well, McCarthy said, yeah, that was justifiable. So he told that to the inspector general. The inspector general, in turn, put it in the paper. This is what was said. My guy got ostracized. He got blackballed. And what was strange about it was he asked me to tell him, and he said, hey, Steve, you been over there, Talaferro? Because I was at a dinner with the mayor. I remember I was sitting with the mayor, and who was the chief of police? Oh, Johnson was the chief right in. And he said, hey, the alderman talks. I said, yeah, I know. He said, yeah, you think you can get me in with a sit down with him? I said, why? He said, first of all, I got a phenomenal thing I do out south where I work with a lot of seniors, and they have cameras. They do the majority of the canvassing for us. We don't have to go door to door like that because they triangulate a lot of what we need, and they let us get the footage. I said, oh, that's cool. He said, I just want to sit down with that guy, that alderman, and ask him, since he's on city council, maybe he could push forth an ordinance that allows anybody that starts a business to have a particular camera, and then that we have a jurisdiction to see the footage. Blah, 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 without having subpoenas, whatever. So I say, yeah, man, let me talk to Chris. I talk to Chris. Chris said, well, okay, yeah, I'll sit with him. I'll go back to my guy. He says, oh, let's do it. I said, well, this is the day to go meet him. He said, no, Steve, I want you there with him. I'm like, what kind of backdoor, not trusting piece of crap situation is this? You don't trust him? I said, he ex-law enforcement, he ex-police, so you can trust. No, Steve, I want you in there with me. So I'm like, okay. So I go, I sit in the meeting with him. They chop it up. He tell me his idea. First thing Chris says, oh, no, it's not gonna work. ACLU will be all over there. They'll be all over there. They won't allow that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we end that conversation. The next thing happens, Charlie Brown comes to Chicago. I call him Charlie Brown, the ex-chief of police, whatever his first name, Brown, because all I heard coming out of his mouth was wah, 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 like we were watching freaking Charlie, And he comes to town, and everybody starts getting raises. So my guy asked me, I go again. I ain't no politician, ain't no mayor, ain't no alderman. Hey, Steve, you think you could talk to your guy, man, since he sits on city council? Now, here it is, a commander. He's a commander of the Texas, asking me to help get deals cut. I said, what you mean? He says, you think you can talk to your guy and see if I'm going to get a raise? Because, it still has to go to city council. I said, well, I guess I can. I know him. So I go to him. I say, hey, man, what's up with my man? Is he going to get a raise? Because everybody getting raises. He's like, Steve, your buddy he'd be happy if he could test into a position. Because he ain't getting jacked. I said, what? He said, yeah, man, he told on his boss. I said, what do you mean? Well, he told on McCarthy. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's all in the Tribune. I said, well, my understanding, he was subpoenaed and he told the truth. And what else could he do? Well, I don't know. He should have done. I'm like, whatever, man. This is so craziness y'all talking about. The man can't get a position, because everybody he's gonna get passed over. He said he's lucky if the new chief of police get him up, advancement. I'm like, whatever. So I go back and tell my guy that. He's like, man, Steve, I'm gonna tell you, man, I've been on the force 30 years. I think I'm gonna be up out of this. And then about 2 years later, he quit. And he ended up working for the state. He ended up being a guy over the what do they call it? Alcohol and tobacco for the state. He had a crew of like 3 guys. They just traveled all over the state. He was the manager, supervisor, what you want to call it. And they traveled all over checking licenses and all that kind of stuff. He was cool with that. He was totally cool with that, man. I'm away. I could leave the city. He went moved up north somewhere in the suburbs, did his thing. Then I called him about now here it is. It's time to get favors, right? Because he always asks me for things. Hook him up. And I go, okay. I said, my cousin's trying to get out. You know, he worked with the CPD. He worked with narcotics. He's been doing it for some years. He's trying to get out of running and gunning. You know, he got kids, little twins and this and that. He wanted a better position. I said, hook my cousin up. He's trying to get it with the state. He said, oh, man, I just left there. I said, where you at now? He says, I'm with the IG. I'm like, how the hell that works? The same people that pimped you and got you in trouble, you with them now? Gang recognized gang.
Mom.
It is what it is, man. Trust me. I tell Barry all the time, everything is about relationship.
Steve.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I have Pastor Ross call you and ask, maybe you could ask, he could ask you if he could come on podcast. He and his group of insurance people to talk to the community about life insurance.
No doubt. Most definitely he can come on. We'll get 10 minutes, do his thing, 10, 15 minutes, ain't no doubt. We can do that. You know,
okay.
Somebody that could help somebody, we out here to do that. But I'm telling you, it's amazing to me the things that transpire. Back to my guy again, he ended up working for the people that got him pretty much pushed out the system. And now he working for them as the chief investigator for the people that got him pushed out the system. But nevertheless, my point to that was that being in that situation and the way he ended up, getting, asking for help and not getting it, although he had a pretty powerful position. These things happen, man. And nobody, I know what I wanted to say. After he went to Teleferro and tell him about, let's use this idea about the cameras, and Teleferro shouting, I ain't gonna work, you'll get out of here, blah, blah, blah. Guess what he does a year later? He introduces the same freaking idea to city council as if it was his idea. And I see it, and I've seen it time and time again. I'm gonna become like Wizzo, the damn wizard or some shit, where I could just be like, doody, doody, doody. This is not my idea. This is your idea. You will do it. Because these bitches out here, you could recommend all types of shit. They don't give a shit until they think it's theirs. And I don't really care. You can call it yours. You can call it your mama's. I don't care. Just get it done. And if we do it faster and expedite it, we ain't gonna be waiting for all these other casualties and situations in between time. But it's been apparent to me with a lot of things, man. That I see it. It's like, look, I give you another one. You can attest to this, Miss Jacobs. I've been telling this group that I've been working with this flood for over 2 years now, going on 2 years. I said, hey, you know what? Y'all don't give these people money to repair their places. Why don't you invest in some prevention and put a backflow valve in and help them make sure they got the other things that go along with keeping water from coming back into their property. Oh, well, I don't know if we got 10, 15, 20 grand. Well, you going to put them 20 grand into repair their place? Why don't you just invest that a little bit more to make sure that if this summer we have a big, tremendous downpour, you've giving them another 15, 20 grand. Well, I just heard the other day, hey, Steve, somebody came up to me, Steve, thanks for advocating for us. Because they didn't want to give me the money to fix my basement because the water came in through the doors and the windows or something. from above. I said, well, it still was from the storm. It came down into your back. Well, they did come out and put a backflow valve. I'm like, wow. She's like, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for doing that. I'm like, well, at least somebody trying to listen, hopefully.
But you know, Steve, they came and did my basement. They pulled the tile up off the bathroom floor and didn't put nothing else back down. I said, you all didn't put nothing back down. Well, we're not responsible for putting another floor back down.
That's not true.
I'm telling you, that's what she told me.
They're supposed to build back better. That's the whole situation. I'm sitting in these meetings. I'm telling you, they're supposed to build back better, not build back worse.
They pulled it up and the floor is just bare.
No,
they probably was pocketing that extra money that money
Well,
that they were supposed to
I
do.
told her, I said, you pulled my tile up off the bathroom floor, but you didn't put nothing back down. Oh no, we're not required to put nothing back down because you had mold on the floor. And so that's why we got that up, but we're not required to put nothing back down.
No.
That's not true. Now if they were to say to you, we're not required to put something back down that's going to create more of a problem, like, you know what? We can't put this carpeting back down here because carpeting will become a mold and mildew situation a week after we leave, just because the floor needs to have a moisture barrier, it needs to have a raised floor, and that wasn't in the budget for a raised floor. We're not building, that kind of stuff. But there's things that you can easily do. You can put tile, you can put, vinyl can go on the basement floor. So that's not true. That's not true. And that's wrong.
Well, maybe you could check into that for me if you don't mind.
No, I'm gonna make mention of all of this because, again, let me tell y'all this. Over the years, I've been in back rooms and back, situations with many higher up people. I give my recommendations. I let people know what the situations are. And I push and advocate for the people as much as I can. And a lot of times I get pushback. But I already know many times what ends up happening, they go do it. And I used to think it was a lot, in the earlier years, let's say, I've been doing this for 35 years. Let's go back 20 of them years when I was 30 at least. I would say they didn't want to do it because they thought I was young. Look, even at NAC, I'll never forget, I was like 26, 20, 25, 20, probably like 27. And our bookkeeper, she was Miss Fan's best friend. She used to be a former policeman actually the first woman policeman in Natchez, Mississippi. And then she used to write the checks out every week. I think they were bi-weekly. Everybody at work, they got their checks. And I said, we got a staff we had a staff of about 27 people at one time. I said, that's a lot of checks to be writing out every week. We could find other things for you to do other than handwriting checks. And I said, you do know there's a program called Quicken. This is back in like 96, something like that, 95, 90, 94, it might have been. And I said, it could do this for you. No, I like doing it on my own. Leave me alone. I say, no, I'm your boss. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. I mean, you older than me, but I'm just giving you some heads up. So I told Miss Fan, which, she was president, and I'm like, talk to her. And nobody want to hear it. A month later, I come in the office, I see a printer, and I see a program, because I went out and got computers for the office back around 90, no, that was around 92, 93. And I said, you should have computers in here. You're doing all this stuff longhand on a typewriter and all that, computer can save this and this. Man, I come back, the bookkeeper, she's sitting over there in that little cubicle, and I look over, she got Quicken, and I see the check print. I'm like, I ain't gonna say nothing, because people want to make shit believe it's like it's their idea. She don't want to hear nothing. He too young, he know too damn much. He don't know nothing. Yeah, all right, whatever. I don't care. Just get it done. I don't care. That's just me. Get it done. I don't care about the accolades, what they call it, accolades and all that. If it's gonna make it better, let's make it better. What they say, build back better. build back bionic and better. But yeah, y'all, trust me, I've experienced a lot of how you put it, sitting at a lot of different tables with a lot of powerful people. One of the most previous was the leadership team that I'm currently still involved with, because they're trying to run game on us, and it's called LT North, Leadership Team North, where we work as advocates for people, for everybody in the northern part of the state of Illinois that have issues around their utilities, whether it's gas or electric, primarily electric. And we run into some doggone pushback from the ICC. Now we dealing with the ICC, and they're supposed to be, the Illinois Commerce Commission is supposed to be there for the people. We run into pushback with them clowns, and they supposed to be there for us because we for the people and they for the people. But they on the back door tank too. It's like, man, trust me, it's a lot of get down going on out here, y'all. And I stay steadfast on it as much as I can to try to make sure people understand. Ain't nobody going for that. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Nope. We need this. We gotta have that. And sometimes they do listen. I know they listen because they end up doing it, but they don't want to do it when I say, you know. Nevertheless.
Yeah, a lot of times if palms are not getting greased, people ain't trying to move.
Yeah, I get that crap too, but you know what? I'm from the school of, I hate to put it this way, if I don't bust your head to get it done, you should feel thankful. Just get it done, you know. We can avoid all that. Just get it done. Get the palms getting greased. Look at the stitches you're gonna get. Just get it done. Let's avoid the violence. I know you're capable. I know you can do it. Let's make it happen before we have to go to extremes. Pay me. Get out of here. That's your job. Pay me. You gotta be, man.
There's a lot of evil, crooked, and greed. You know, a lot of evil and greed.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Look, I've worked with people as high up as attorney generals back in the day. I'm gonna tell you something. That's one of the benefits of being a young person coming to Northwest Austin County. And I never forget when I came, I told Ms. Spann, she said, "Why you want to be on the board? Write us a letter, tell you why you want to be on the board, fill out the application." And she read my letter and she said, "Look at this. You see what this young man said? He said on here, it's a privilege to be a part of an organization that are vanguards that look out for the people in the community and to be abreast of the situations that go on in our community before most do." And she told all the other board members, which they were like in their 60s, 70s, but look, this is what I'm saying. This young man right here, and I'm like looking like I wasn't trying to ham it up. I was saying what I saw, you know. And the reason I said that because we did an action probably a month or two before where there were potholes on Menard in 1400 block. And people have been complaining for months, years about the potholes. And we need them patched, we need them street resurfaced. So what do? We organized and we got to meet some seniors and a bunch of kids. And we got some coal tar and one of those rollers that you roll the grass flat with. And we patched the holes. We called the media out. And we said, we do our own streets and sands over here in Northwest Austin. We patch out, this is what we do. Man, do you realize the superintendent of streets and sands got there right before the media? I guess he's seen it. Oh yeah, you know what? We're slated to do this whole stretch of blocks from North Avenue Division next week. Really? So why we have to get these kids out here and other seniors out here to do it and embarrass you first? Why? You were slated to do it. Yeah, right. But sometimes you gotta twist some arms. And like I said, get some stitches to make people do the things they need to do. And that right there, a guy that used to work in the company where I worked as an engineer, he worked the owner, His name was Soto Colovis. And there was another Greek guy named Jim Pappas. Matter of fact, Walter, Jim Pappas had the only two flag around the corner from Perry's house on Sears. Only he owned that place before he moved to Lake Forest. But nevertheless, Jim said, Stevie, I seen you on the news. Now this back in like 80, 92, 91. I seen you on the news with a bunch of people. You guys are out there fixing, you know all of those people? I said, well, kind of, sort of. I don't know the little kids, you know. I know most of the adults. He says, well, I live up in Lake Forest, and we don't know our neighbors. I'm like, what? I thought everybody in the suburbs knew everybody. He's like, no, we don't really know our neighbors. That's amazing. You know all those. I'm like, I just know the adults, some of the adults from the community. He thought that was an amazing thing. And, matter of fact, he didn't really look at the real footage of what it was about. He just saw me with a bunch of people. You know, I'm 22, 91, 92. I was about 26, 27. And he big misconception. You know, I thought suburban people knew all their neighbors, like, you know, closely. Not the case. But again, like I said, for me, I've been fortunate enough to have some connection with people that really, you know, could make some differences and utilize it, you know, utilize it to help people. Sometimes I run into a lot of pushback, but you know, people tend to understand after a while. You know, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just saying, look at the flood situation. What did everybody do? The day of the flood, I'll never forget it, July 2nd, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 days before the 4th of July, we got a torrential rain that went on for 8 hours. And everybody on this show says, Steve, we can't talk about regular community issues. We got 4 feet of water. We got 3 feet of water. We need to figure this out. I'm like, I can't do nothing about that. Everybody I know they're on vacation. And then I said, wait a minute, let me call Congressman Davis. I can call him. I can do that. He'll pick up. And I did. And he picked up at 9 o'clock. He said, well, Steve, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to call FEMA. Because FEMA's open on the 3rd. They're not open on the 4th of July, but they're open. And I'm going to call them and get them involved, get the ball running. I'm also going to reach out to the president and make sure that we can get some funding and hit him up because he needs to know this. And I'm like, yeah. He said, and while I'm doing that, you set a meeting for July 6th at NAC to get people out so we can discuss this amongst people and figure out where they're at. And I'm like, okay. So we got the word out. I never forget it because Bertha was on the call. Bertha was one of the main ones saying, hey, we got to get this going, Steve. And we ended up with almost 700 people down there. I put chairs out for 200. We had another 50 or more standing up in the back. We had another 300-400 people outside. And we ended up taking the meeting to the outside. Now, I say this to say that it took me being able to collaborate with people to get things done. And he also told me, call all the other elected officials. I called the water president and water reclamation. She knew me, Carrie Steele. I called Emma Miss, the Alderman 37 ward. I called Teleferro, the Alderman of 29 ward. Well, of course, he didn't come. His representative came and she told me she would come because she said he wouldn't come. But nevertheless, I called.
That made the news too, Steve. That made the news too.
Yes, it did. But, I didn't really care about all that part. I was more concerned about how we're going to do this. Because people literally put me to task. And my pushback was like, man, what y'all want me to do? These people, I can't get anybody. But then I'm like, there's always somebody that can help. You just got to know who to go to in any situation. That's just the reality. You and I have conversations about things that you need help with these kids and everything. I'm still trying to get a good resource for you, though, because you got that big one, boy. Your big one is housing, and it's so hard. It is so hard to get the right in the right places when it comes to housing. I had a case just this week. White guy called me from another organization. Steve, I know you got connects, man. I need you to get one of the white guy I know here. He used to be president of our organization. I need you to get him a place to stay, man. And he's couch surfing and he needs a job, man. I'm like, okay. And he might be on some substances, maybe. Okay. I say, well, yeah, I know people that do all of that. But I'm like, wow, that's a lot. But you know me, I guess. And I did. I reached out and did what I could do. But the problem with that was, and I wasn't conscious enough to understand, he's asking for the guy. When I talked to the guy was all nonchalant about it. And I'm like, I'm gonna get you somebody. I got somebody. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm a plumber. Oh, all right, if you're a plumber, why you ain't plumbing? Why you talking to Steve? I ain't call you to do no plumbing. I'm trying to help you because this other guy got said help. And then he's like, well, yeah, I got a dog and I got a cat and a fish and this. Man, I don't care about all that. He ain't telling me your fish need a home. He ain't telling me your dog need a home. He ain't telling me all this other stuff.
Usually the housing situation, like I was saying, working with youth and care, kids that are wards of the state, once they age out and really they don't have that support, they just out there homeless. They just out in the street trying to fend for themselves. So that's a lot of the young people that I'll be trying to find housing for.
Right.
But that young man, I was able to get him a spot. This other guy I grew up with, he owns a building. He said, yeah, send him on over. He been living there ever since. And that's been about a year or two now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
And he's working, he got a good job. He's doing well. So I thank God.
There you
So,
go.
yeah, a lot of young people need help.
Well, like this guy here, what I found out was he's got to want it for himself. I ain't talking about no kid that aged out. I'm talking about a grown up that aged out of being grown. Man, you grown. You telling me about your gerbil and your cat.
That's a different story.
What's that?
I said, yeah, these grown people that ain't trying to do nothing for themselves, that's a different story.
At your alley west.
Oh, no.
Your front door outside.
They can't hear me. I'm like, they can't hear me. What are you talking about? How about now? Can you hear me now? But nevertheless, that was my dilemma with him. He didn't want it, enough, because if he really wanted it enough, he would have been pushing it the right way, and it was kind of like, oh, really? You need, like, it was like I needed him when I spoke to the guy. Oh, I do plumbing, and I ain't asked you about that. I don't do that. I'm gonna tie you into people that's gonna help you get your job. I'm gonna help you. First of all, that's what you need to do. Get a job. You grown. And I'm gonna help you get that. Then you can work on your own house. Then you can work on your dog house and your cat house and your fish bowl or whatever you gotta do. But he didn't want it enough. He wants somebody else to just bring it to him, I guess. And it ain't happening. Not happening. It ain't gonna work like that for me.
And whoever heard of a plumber need help? Plumbers, I know many more plumbers than lawyers got jobs.
You got that right, but the problem was he told me he wasn't certified. So, Jack Leg, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a start, though. You go to school, you get your certification, make yourself better. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How hard is that? Let's be real. Anyway, y'all, let's see what it's gonna take to close out, because I've been on one of these things. We didn't even have sound on Facebook for the whole show. But let's close out, y'all. Who we got that want to start off with what you got in conclusion?
Well, I just want to say we continue to do what we're doing, and we just continue to try to get together and do things together and make things happen. But the 31st of this month, we're having a speak out in front of Hostess Bakery. It's on Narragansett. We're having a speak out because this company is coming into the community, not letting the community know that they're coming in. They're not hiring out people. So we're doing a speak out. So if you all want to come, you come on and we can make it happen. That's my word for tonight. Huh?
Ms. Jacobs.
4 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
And it's located?
Hostess Bakery on Narragansett, the way you go to Brickyard.
Narragansett and
That's
I
Oak
think
Park,
it's Nar-
Oak Park Avenue.
Is it Oak Park Avenue or Dixon?
no, it's Narragansett.
I thought it was Oak Park. Okay.
No, it's not Oak Park. It's on Narragansett and Dickinson, I think.
Yeah, Dickens. It's Dickens and Narragansett. That's right.
Right,
Okay.
right. Uh-huh.
Oh, that's
Okay.
that's Mars Candy I'm thinking about on Oak Park Avenue.
Right,
that's
you talking about Mars. No, this is Hostess.
Okay. Thank you.
It's not Hostess. It's not Hostess. This company just bought Hostess.
Well, in the last 15 years, it's been Arista, Clover Hill, Bimbo, Hostess. What else is it now?
It was Smucker, and now JL Foods have just bought it.
6 different companies in the last since 2007. Now, somebody explain that one to me. But nevertheless, it is what it is. We're gonna work it out. Also, well, anybody else got anything? How about you, Tiny, in conclusion?
Yeah.
Can't hear you. Talk to me. Where'd he go? Tiny dropped off.
Okay, yeah. This was a lively program. I really enjoyed this. It's good being around like-minded people. And if everybody just do something, we'll get the job done. And I always remember it is a God, and everything is going to work out for the good.
Amen.
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 Yes, sir. How about you, Barry? You've been very quiet. Barry Corn. All right, we'll move back to Barry. How about you, Ella?
I enjoyed our session this evening. Some things really stuck out and came to my mind as we were talking, especially about the police and educating our youth. So just keep doing what we're doing and we can speak about it. And I'm glad to see the alderman here. Maybe he can take some of our ideas back and work on some of them. And that's it.
You think if you want to keep a job, but hey, let's talk. How they get honorary staff from Mr. Woodward right by the garden, but they didn't inform anybody that they were going to do the street naming for them. How does that happen? That's just ridiculous. You know, come on now. You know, that's just flat out ridiculous. Nobody. But it happened. You do know that, right, Miss Ella Houston, Miss Houston? You know that, right? And Mr. Ferber's name has been put over there.
I didn't hear you. You were breaking up.
I said Mr. Ferber's name. They've named the street after him, and nobody has said anything. No one notified us.
Nope, I heard about it too.
Oh, you heard? But yeah, but they didn't have a street. They didn't do an official street naming ceremony, right?
Right. They had something over there on Menard, but you know, I wasn't invited. I didn't hear about it until after the fact.
Oh, so they did have a ceremony. Okay. Nevertheless, what you got? Barry, you got something in conclusion?
Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation too. I didn't hear all of it, but some. But what I did hear, I was really listening to. One thing I didn't hear that I think is important is give and get, and asking people who we help to in turn help someone else. Without that, there aren't enough of us to solve these problems. But if we were to pay it forward, then and that were to catch on, then it would make a significant difference. What?
It's like the house on fire, and everybody's got to grab a bucket, right? In the chain.
That's right. Yeah.
Bucket, pass the bucket.
Yeah, and then the emphasis is on us passing the buckets and doing it effectively. So we put out the fires.
Right. Absolutely. How about you, Camilla? You got anything in conclusion? Or did we all
no, I don't have anything. I just I'm glad I was able to jump on. Even though I was late, I'm glad I was able to jump on this evening. I enjoyed the conversation and the good people. Yep, it's always good to just be a part of something positive. So I appreciate all of y'all. Thanks.
How about you, Walter? Thanks, man.
Oh, hi, everybody. God bless everyone on here. It's going to be a wild summer. Just God bless. Be safe out there.
That's right. That's right. You got to be safe. You got to be prepared. You got to do things. I mean, we could change this whole thing around. Trust me. We can do it. We need everybody else to collaborate and cooperate with us. Because it's obvious they're hearing us, but they don't want to do it until they make it their own idea. And I don't care about it. Their idea or anybody else. Let's just make it happen right, So as DeAndre always says, unless somebody else got anything in conclusion, anyone? So as DeAndre always says, they didn't want to invite us to the table, so we had to go out and create our own. And I want to say thank you guys for coming to and welcome you to Northwest Austin Council. Good night, and I'll see y'all next time.
All right,
Good night,
brother.
all.
Everybody.
God
Good
bless
night.
everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.
Other clients that they're I'm jealous. Other clients, huh? I'm gonna have to do something about that. Well, I'm not really a typical client. You're looking for that, you're in the wrong place. You say about that? I mean, you could have texted or called every number and saying hi. I could have. I would take it that you had a chance to look at what I sent you on Tiffany Cosby and her company. I did. Nice work. I wouldn't call it nice. I did, but you asked. Is this the part where you judge me for letting her out and from the company?
Hey.
What, is that your thing?